Hello and welcome back to our next video in our series on ExcelDraw version 6. In the previous video I showed you how to install ExcelDraw and how to get started with it. In today's video I'm going to be showing you the add objects function right here, as well as how to create a drawing like we have in the background here. How to rotate it, how to get your axis viewable, and how to move it around. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, I'm going to show you how to add in values. I'm going to be going over each one of these objects and where to put them. So let's go ahead and start a new sheet. So inside of ExcelDraw, every sheet is considered a new drawing. So if you wanted to work on one drawing, say on sheet 1 right here, and you didn't want to change anything on there and you wanted to start a new drawing, all you have to do is start a new sheet, and a new sheet is a new drawing. The first thing that you want to figure out is if you want to have z-values included or if you do not. Now, in the previous video, I showed you how to make some objects without having z-values included. Today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do this with z-values. Now, you don't have to add in headers, but headers are very useful because they allow you to see where the placement of different objects are. But as I said before, the headers up here, the X through Z's, they are entirely optional. You don't really have to have those included. Now, whenever you do create an object, they are laid out as such: x1, y1, z1, and then x2, y2, and z2. And as I mentioned before, z-values are optional, so if you don't have z-values, you don't have to worry about the z columns. But for today, I'm going to have z-values included. Now, we're going to be going through every one of the objects that we have up at the top, and I'm going to be showing you how to work with every one of them. The first one that I'm going to show you is a rectangle. And a rectangle is made exactly the same way as it would be in AutoCAD. You simply put in the starting values, which is going to be the bottom left corner of the square, and the end values, which is the top right corner of this square or rectangle or whatever you would like to make. Once you have all those values down, make sure you select them, and if you have z-values included, make sure you click that, and then simply click the rectangle object. And as you can see, now we have a rectangle drawn, and we have the axis right here. If we want to change the axis, all we have to do is go to 3D graph orientation. It'll come up with this little 3D graph orientation window, and there's presets down here that you can use. For instance, if you want to look at it from the top looking down, you can see that the box has changed and you see where the Y, X, and Z values are. From the bottom, the front, the side, or 3D view. You can also rotate these around manually if you want, and as you can see, it changes as well. If you don't want to see the axis arms, you can just deselect that with the axis arm option here. We also have the option of a ground layer, so you can kind of get a better idea of where everything is located at. If you would like to change the line width of these objects, you can do that right here just by down selecting and changing the width to whatever width size you would like it to be. Let's say that we want to add in some lines. Lines are made, again, the same way that you would make them in AutoCAD. You simply put in your starting point, so x1, y1, and z1. We're going to start this line off at 2, 2, -2. So this would be at the top right corner of the square, and it's going to then travel to 0, 0, 0, which is going to be the dead center. And it's going to make kind of like a pyramid when we get all of these lines added. So we can add in individual lines, such as just select one at a time and hit add line. And as you can see, we now have a line. Or you can select all of the same object and click line again. And now we have an object with that line. So let's rotate this around so we can see it better. And as you can see, we now have sort of a pyramid. Now, something that I have not mentioned yet is the layers. inside of Excel Draw, you can have up to 10 layers added to a single drawing. And it is currently on layer 0. It is going to be set to that by default. If you want to change the name of these layers, I'll get into that more later, but there is a window right here where you can change the default names or the names for the worksheet that you're at. But like I said, I will get into that at a later video. I just wanted to let you know that there are options for different layers. So I'm actually going to move this down to layer 1 now, and we will move on and graph our next objects. Our next object is going to be an arc, and we actually have 2 arcs right here. Arc objects are determined by having your starting point, which is the center of the arc. Those are x1, y1, and z1. So this is going to be in the center at 0, 0, and then a quarter of 1 segment above the tip. So it's going to be 0.025 in the z. So this arc is going to begin a little bit above the pyramid. The next one, which is x2 value, is going to be your radius. So how big of a radius do you want on that arc? This arc is going to have a 0.25 in the radius, and I'm going to change that later so you can see it update and change. Then the next 2 values are going to be your starting point in degrees. So it's going to be 0 degrees starting point, and your ending point, which is going to be 90 degrees. So if we do this and we create an arc, you can see it's a very tiny little arc there. Let's go ahead and zoom into it so we can see it better. And as you can see, we now have the arc right there. Now I said I was going to change that, and I do want to because that is very small. So let's go ahead and change this to 1. And when we change it, we can just go up here to generate graph, and it'll generate it again, and you can see that it has changed. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in the other arc, which is right below it. And as I mentioned before, we could change this value, we could leave it alone. It doesn't really matter. There we have it. Now we have another arc there. Now the next object down is a rounded rectangle. A rounded rectangle is set up exactly the same way as a regular rectangle, except for on the corners, it's just going to have an arc. So if you click on rounded rectangle, you'll see that this is going to be a little bit bigger than the rectangle under it, and it makes a rounded rectangle. Next object that we're going to be graphing are points, and points are very simple. All you have to do is put the location of x and y of that point. Go ahead and click point, and these will go in the corners. Yeah, right there. If we zoom out, you can see the corners of the square around it are going to have the points. So let's go ahead, oh, that's zooming in. Let's zoom out a little bit. There we go. So now, as you can see, we have the points on either side of it, and that is our points. The next objects are circles, and circles are very similar to arcs. You have your x, y, and z value for your center point of the circle, and then you have the radius. So just like an arc, except you don't have to have a starting point or an end point with the angles. You just say where the center of the circle is and the radius of it. So let's select these, and these are going to appear. One is going to be, actually they're both going to be above the arc. One's just going to be a little bit larger circle than the other. So let's go ahead and make those. And as you can see, we now have circles above the arc. Text, you can specify a default value for the text size, or you can specify exactly how big you want the text to be. With your default sizes of text, that is in the graph settings and your text size. So it's automatically defaulted to 4. You can also change that inside of the 3D graph orientation where it says the default text size of 4. Once again, same thing, you can change it there too. It's just there for convenience. But if you do not have a value set in the Y2 placement of your text, then it will set the text size to your default value. So let's say that you want a text box to appear at 0, 0 with a z height of 1. That's going to be above the circles, but it's still going to be at 0, 0. And you want that to be text 1. You simply select your text. You select the x, y, z values, and your x2 value is the text that you want, and you just click text. Now that is going to default to the default size of the text, which is the text size of 4. But let's say that you want a text size to be a little bit different. So you want a different text size. Well, we still want it to be at x, maybe -2 for the placement of y. That way it'll be below that text. And we'll have it still at the z value of 1. Text 2, let's say instead of 4, because that looks pretty big, we want it to be 2. So let's select the text, and we're also going to select the Y2 placement as well, because that's our text size, and we just click text. And there we have text that's a little bit smaller, that is below the first text option. So why did I show you all of these with layers? Well, all of the objects that we have shown so far, we've separated in layers because it makes it a lot easier to see when we open up our object manager. Now I will go more in depth with object manager in a later video. This is more of creating different objects, but the object manager is kind of part of that, so I want to show it off here as well. So with the object manager, if you click on that, you can see that we have the drawings, all the objects listed right here, and the objects themselves actually changed colors. If we go down and we select one of these, you can actually see them highlight and change color to the text that is on there, or the object that's on there. You can also see that's highlighted on the sheet as well. So if we jump down here to the first text box that we have, text 1, you can see it's now yellow, and we can see the name of it, the location. But what happens whenever we don't want to see everything? Let's just say that we want to see 1 or 2 of the layers, and that's it. We just want to see layer 2, which has the text on it. So let's deselect all layers and just select layer 2. And now we can see layer 2. But what if we also want to see the squares? Well, let's select layer 0, which has the pyramid on it. Or we can just select layer 1. And as you can see, it changes to show you what the current layers are. Again, I will get more into the drawing manager feature later, but for now, just know that it is there. You can also do this by showing only the selected layer right here next to your layer number. So if you drop this down and you only want to show the text, you can simply put only show selected layer, and then it'll only show that layer. You may also notice that there's colors for every object here. If you would rather it be color coded by layer, all you have to do is select layer coloring. When you select layer coloring, you'll notice that whichever layers are together are now the same color. So that could also be helpful. Line and point, which is very simple. It is simply just 2 points and 1 line. So whenever you create an object, it will be 2 points and 1 line. So for instance, you will need a starting point. I'm going to change this to layer 3 so we can see it better. You will need a starting point. So the rounded rectangle, we're just going to use that for this example. Starting point and ending point, and go to line and point. And you will see that there's going to be a new object that appears. It's going to be 2 points and a line. Right there. So 2 points and a line that intersect at exactly those points. So that's the line and point. So the final object that we're going to be looking at is the polygon object. And a polygon object is very similar to the circle. You simply put in your starting point, which is going to be the center of the polygon in X, Y, and Z. And then you put your radius, how big you want the polygon to be. And then you specify in the Y2 section how many sides you want your polygon to have. Then you simply select all of your data and you click Polygon. And as you can see, we now have a polygon that is in that location 003, that is a radius of 2 and has 5 sides. Something else that you can add in is the ability to rotate the polygon as well. So we have a second polygon here, and the Z2 value is the rotation. So in case you want to rotate this in so many degrees, you can do that. And as you can see right here, we have a second polygon right above it that is at a 27-degree angle. Okay, thank you all very much. I hope this video was helpful. In the next video, we're going to be going over some of the graphing settings, layer settings, and object manager. Hi, I'm Kyle, owner and operator of Great Technical. Thank you all so much for making it at this point in the video, and if you are here, go ahead, like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot, and it lets me know that the content I'm making is stuff that you all like to see. Go ahead, leave us a comment as well. Let me know if there's anything that you would like to see in the future, or if you have any future updates that you would like to have included in our products in the future. I would also like to say that being a company owner, I am very proud to be able to support businesses and students. I am also extremely proud to be able to support content creators. So if you have a content platform, you make videos, or if you have a blog and you would like to reuse some of our content, or if you would like to review some of our products, go ahead and send me an email. My email is right here, support@greattechnical.com. Get in contact with me. We can see what we can get worked out. And until next time, thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your day.